Hello and welcome, friends. Inside his hut strong knocks, as if someone was demolishing a wall. Even the lamplight inside the hut shook with them. Then I almost wet my pants when a sudden, loud scream came with those knocks. So I took steps back with my back and sat on the ground from the terror that seized me. The knocking continued with the same strength without stopping, while the screaming increased with each knock, as if someone was roaring inside. What was killing me with fear was that I knew that roar was my master's own voice. Then I gathered my nerves, stood up, and approached cautiously on the tips of my toes to the wooden hut door, and poked my eye between the cracks of the door to see what I had never seen in my life. M.Y. Master was completely naked, his eyes bulging strongly, and the veins and muscles of his body swelling in a way I had never seen before he was punching the hut wall with very strong consecutive punches that made blood flow from his fist. But he was continuing his punches as if he felt no pain, while his throat roared with a screaming voice that shook the walls around him with every punch he hit. Continuous punches without stopping, a continuous roar reaching the sky, blood flowing from his fist without pain. Real terror sweeping over me as I saw with my own eyes how the ancestral spirit began to rage inside my master's body Gufrin. Overwhelming joy struck my classmates when the word Rami was issued from the school's senior officer on the platform, and I was showered with congratulations and felicitations. As for me, a state of astonishment and severe distraction overcame me. Between my joy at what happened a moment ago and the sudden dawn of hope to work in the courtyard again, and between the face of Nadim that appeared to me on the wooden target, achieving a result in shooting and timing that no student had ever achieved. When that distraction lingered on my features, one of my colleagues asked me if I didn't feel joy and if everything was okay with me. So I reassured her before I left with distracted mind and returned to my bed in the dormitory. 14 days. The next day was the date of our seasonal holiday. I attended the Day of Atonement, and I was able to meet Nadim easily compared to the last time. Nothing happened when we were together until I left him and returned to my parents. I do not remember talking much that time. I was very distracted, unlike before. Every time I looked at him, I remembered his face imprinted on the wooden target and that precise injury between his eyebrows. At that time, distress usually struck me for myself, and I prefer to return to Alba. After a very short period of our meeting, the child Ryan was waiting for him in front of the eastern gate, like last time, until they left together. Then my second year at school began, and with it, two things changed that were very positive. The first was that my mother was pregnant with my brother Zane, and the second was that I became the most famous among the school students, exceeding 1,000 students, after no one could get close to my average in shooting MY shots day after day, continued to impress everyone who watched me, until some of them secretly told me that I was better than our teachers. After that, I joined the school's distinguished shooting team to rest a lot from the strenuous physical training. With every shooting competition, there were three constant things. Nadim's face imprinted in front of my eyes on the wooden target, first place in accuracy and timing by a large margin. From the other places, great praise from the officers, and his confirmation to me that I am the next platform shooter. And this is what actually happened. I returned to the Jueda Arena after 4 years as a shooter. 4 years in which I missed many days of atonement, but during which I became stronger, bolder, and more mature than I was before. 4 years in which Nadim did not break his promise to me, and he remained alive, teaching the sons of the Nasali. I remember my first day on the platform. There are those murmurs that started and didn't stop when I ascended the platform in my military clothes. My long-sleeved gray wool suit and the tight trousers the same color that tucked below a long-necked leather shoe, while a thick black belt surrounded my waist, attached to my firearm holster filled with live gunpowder. M.Y. first steps on the platform were firm and confident. I can find my heart beating in awe, as it would have if this had happened years ago. I stood facing the audience, head held high before turning toward the great judge to give my military salute. Then I received the execution order from him to turn with extreme steadiness to the first person in my professional life, and pointed my weapon towards his head for the gunpowder to fire, shattering what was between his eyebrows. Only then did the murmur stop, and a terrifying silence prevailed, broken only by a zagruda that erupted from the back of the hall. It was the first time I killed someone, and it wasn't the last. One day of atonement after another. My hand began to get used to shooting at people on the platform, one execution each time. 2, 3 men. Women, my mind wasn't thinking about them at all. They were all one, a criminal who deserved to be killed. And it was my turn to achieve justice. The matter became for me a bullet fired, a corpse falling, a zagruda echoing from behind me to move on to another execution. As if nothing had happened, one day, I heard a woman say that Judah's children had become afraid of me and my rigid face and harsh features. I didn't pay attention to that, but with the passing of time, I truly became the girl that all the people of Judah feared, and this greatly pleased me internally, unlike my mother, who thought that my job would reduce my chances of marriage, and the argument started to ignite between us every time a groom came proposed to me, and I refused without even talking to him. Then our great tragedy struck when my father died of illness 3 years before reaching 50. After that, the argument between me and my mother became a daily ritual that both of us had to go through until I had enough one time and screamed at her. "I will marry Nadim," she said, upright. "Nadim who?" I said in a quiet voice. "Al-Nasli," she said, disbelieving. "Didn't that matter end years ago?" I shook my head in denial and said, "Yes, it didn't end." She kept staring at me in astonishment when she saw the seriousness with which I was speaking. Then she screamed at me, "This will not happen, and I promise him that. And I swear to you, if he reached his 25th year without a crime, I would marry him in front of the people of 2 neighboring communities, all of them, so he would become honorable like us." So she sat on her chair in front of the table and put her head in her hands, and she muttered, "This will not happen. It will not happen." My brother was 4 years old at the time, and he was watching our argument with fear. So she continued, looking at him, "Shame will never befall our family." So I left angrily, and the matter increased my stubbornness that I started meeting Nadim openly in front of all the people. After meeting during the days of forgiveness, it became impossible for me to stay in the courtyard all day. And day after day, the news of our meeting spread among the people of Juwaida, and Nadim was nicknamed the Nasli who dates Mrs. Gufran, Rami al-Manasseh, and I heard that many different tales and stories have been circulated about us. However, I knew exactly that I was not violating the rules of my country with those meetings, and that there was not a single rule that prevented a Nasli from meeting a Sharifa. So I cast all their nonsense behind my back. To complete my promise, which I promised him years ago, that I would continue with him his path towards his 25th year, to then remove his tattoo with my dagger on the platform of our favorite courtyard. Rhea and I took a few steps back without making a sound, then sat a few meters away from the hut door, hugging my knees to my chest, my body trembling violently as the knocking and screaming coming from my master did not stop. I was very afraid to approach the wooden door again, but I decided not to leave and abandon my master, and I stayed in my place, my body shaking with every scream, and many imaginations ran to my mind after I imagined myself in his position a few years later. Then time passed hour after hour, and the knocking began to subside little by little and became at distant intervals, and the screaming calmed down with it. So I knew that exhaustion had hit him, until it stopped completely. I stood up and approached cautiously to look through cracks in the door, and I found him lying on his stomach, stretched out naked and still, blood covering the back of his severely injured hands. I cautiously extended my index finger through a large crack between 2 pieces of the doors with a touch a small horizontal piece of wood that was closing it, and I began to move it in a semicircular motion until I succeeded. Narrator. I opened it slowly and cautiously entered the hut, kneeling beside him. I said, "Master." He didn't answer, so I got up, brought a canvas shirt that was lying on the floor, covered his bare waist with it, and whispered him again, "Master." Then I reached out to his shoulder, shaking him carefully, my heart pounding with fear. My heart almost stopped when he suddenly opened his bloodshot eyes and looked directly into mine. I flinched and stumbled backward, falling onto my back. He said wearily, "What brought you here, Ryan? Is it time for the lesson?" I said nervously, "No, Master, I just—" He looked at his wounded hands and said, frightened, "What happened?" I said nothing. Then I found him suddenly getting up, the shirt falling from his waist. He immediately picked it up to cover his body in front of me, then asked me again as he inspected the ruined hut around him. "What happened?" I said. "He saw you hitting the walls hard and screaming a scream I've never heard before." He fell silent, examining his right hand, which was badly injured then. He said absently, "I don't remember anything." I nodded my head in agreement. Without saying anything, then I got up and moved between the corners of his cramped hut and brought him a pair of trousers from an open wooden box. And he put them on while I brought a container of water that was in a far corner and started washing the wounds on his hand and removing the clotted blood from them. I had seen someone doing that one of the times I went to Judah. He was just looking at me as I did that until I finished and found him saying, "Don't tell anyone what happened," so I shook my head in agreement. Then he said in a calm voice, talking to himself, "I won till let her win." So I looked at him, knowing that he meant the Jinn spirit, before he continued, "I will complete my promise to Gufran I said at the time." "Which promise, Sid?" He said, "We will get married after 8 years." My eyes widened, and I said happily, "Really, we'll be 17. Then he patted my head with his hand. So I stood up and kissed his head, and he smiled. Then sleep overcame him after the exhaustion his body went through. So I returned to our hut. I didn't tell Dima anything that day. I stayed awake thinking about what happened until the time of dawn the next day, and I found myself returning to Mr. Nadim's school to complete my lessons with Himas. If I had forgotten what I was thinking about last night, when I went to his hut angrily, I don't know what came over me. I had an overwhelming desire for my master to achieve his dream. I saw with my own eyes how he was resisting his impulsive soul, and I realized, well, that controlling himself in front of those who deliberately hurt him was nothing but strength for if he had left a field for that soul inside him to lead his body to. Kill them immediately, then his body would have no way but the cursed platform to leave us all. This is what we had great hope of becoming normal people, no less than the honorable ones in anything by teaching us. He trained our souls to control the unruly spirit. When it was a matter of our survival, I didn't know then if he was doing it for his sake, or for the sake of Mrs. Gufran, or for our sake, but I was completely certain that what he was doing would remain a turning point in the lives of Al-Nizali, and the pride inside me increased that I was the first to learn from him, and my attachment to him increased as if he were my father whom I do not know, and I started going every evening to his hut to check on him without him seeing me. I would only look through cracks in the door. If he was sleeping, I would leave him sleeping and leave, and if his spirit was agitated, I would remain waiting outside the hut until it calmed down. Then I would slip into the hut and bandage the wounds on his hands and leave before he woke up from his nap. He knew, of course, that it was me who was doing that. So he would come to thank me the next day, and I would respond to his words with sincere smile. Our number, year after year. Mr. Nadim truly became the dream of Al-Nizali by the 4th year. We had become 110 students. So he divided us into groups throughout the day and made me take over teaching the younger children. With time, it also became my dream to become an honorable person one day, not a criminal who dies in front of the people of Chartres, and I felt that this had become the dream of many others who were learning from our teacher, especially after Mrs. Gufran climbed the platform and boldly announced her relationship with Mr. Nadim. So it spread. The tales and stories about them between our huts, and with them the hope would grow among all of us. I, who used to fear that my familial spirit would rebel, my heart became reassured that I would bring it under my control when it rebels, even if it caused me severe injuries to my hand. I wish Dima had not left. I used to tell her always that maybe our situation would change, but she didn't believe that and left with a traveling gypsy from other lands. Here are the years continuing to pass, and my master passed his 24th year, and our dream is all on the verge of coming true. Dima, but the truth that no one knows but me is that every day that passed and he approached his 25th year, the matter became more difficult with the first day of that year. Something became somewhat different. At that time, I had reached my 16th year, and my strength had grown a lot. And I found my master coming to my hut running and breathlessly asking me to tie him up. So I wondered at what he was asking, but he begged me to hurry. So I did what he ordered me to do. I tied him with a thick rope and sat near him in intense anticipation. My master returned to his convulsions, and his continuous screaming roared the roar that time was stronger than the many past times, and with the veins of his body swelled, especially his neck, in a terrifying way that made me think that blood would burst from him until fear controlled me. So I ran away to a distant corner of the hut and prepared to escape after I thought he would cut the thick rope with which I had tied him. But he collapsed after a period of time while he was saying to me, "Something is moving inside me," that I felt a lot of pity for him. So I said, "You will get over this year." But he continued to mumble while panting, "Something is moving inside me strongly." Gufrin, what I feared had happened. When I reached the age of 23 and Nadim reached the age of 24, my mother had reached the age of 50. We were awakened that morning by knocks on our door that we were waiting for with intense anguish. Days before, my mother had remained in her room wearing a white dress and embracing Zayn, while I did not leave our house for a single moment during that period, as if I wished my sleep in her arms and her last days would compensate me for my years that I would live without her. We did not want any argument to take place between us regarding my marriage. We were just a daughter and a mother on the verge of death. So the three of us remained on one bed, exchanging the warmth of our bodies before we lost the greater warmth. The real painful slap for me was from the rules of two neighbors. With that morning, 2 officers came to our house with papers proving my mother had reached 50. None of us objected, except with our tears that flowed down our faces. No one could object. There are no exceptions to this rule. And for the survival of our honorable lineage, my mother had to end her life according to the rules that morning. My mother left with the 2 officers who refused to let me accompany them, even though I was higher in rank than them, and Zayn and I stayed in our house. He asked me with fear, "Where is she going?" I said, lying, "She'll be back soon. None of the people of Jartin know anything about the manner of our death in Wadi Horan in the northeast. The religious men specialize in that matter and keep a secret. Most accounts said it was a comfortable poison that provided a comfortable, painless death. But no one can confirm that matter. I will surely know when my time comes. I just hope my pure mother's soul goes to a pure, honorable body that preserves it. This is the way of life in Jartin, a real pain from the separation of your closest people that you have to get used to. This is how we were created, this is how we live. And this is how we leave it to those after us. After my mother's death, I left our old house and moved with my brother to a new home to start a new life. I gradually tried to compensate him for our mother's absence and take care of him as if my mother and father were both present. Poor child, my mother brought him to prevent my loneliness, but she forgot that he would be deprived of her and my father at a young age. I didn't bother teaching the rules as I learned them in my childhood, and I let him live his life as a child who loves to play like his peers at that age. I was very happy when he found friends in our new neighborhood who used to play soccer below my balcony. As the days went by, I got used to their morning shouting, and I also started rewarding them with sweets if one of them scored a goal. I felt that they truly loved me, contrary to what some people repeated, that the children of Juwaida feared me. Today their happiness with me was multiplied many times over. I knew that Zayn had told them that I had turned 24, and that Mrs. Samaria would come take my body measurements after I agreed with Nadim the last time we met that our wedding would be held in the Juwaida Arena on the Day of Atonement at the end of this month. I truly couldn't believe that Nadim would reach his 25th year without being one of my victims on the platform. He did it for me, Mrs. Samaria said jokingly as she looked at my body, Whoever sees this femininity would never believe that you are the same girl we see in the Jueda arena. I laughed as I looked at the woman and said, I am not evil. Madam, it's just my job. She said, your marriage on the platform from your girl will become the talk of the people of Two Neighbors for years. This is, if it hasn't already become their talk now. It's a big story. A day will come to write it for all the people of Two Neighbors to read. She murmured jokingly as she measured my chest circumference around me. The platform marries a lineage to become honorable, said. He is truly honorable and deserves that. She laughed, then asked, but on the wedding day, who will play the role of the shooter to execute the guilty 115? I said with a smile, there will certainly be a substitute for me. I will not kill anyone in my wedding dress. She said, you are truly strong, my lady. I will be the first to attend in the courtyard on the next Day of Atonement. Then she finished and carried her belongings, saying, I will work hard to finish your dress well before the Day of Atonement. I smiled, agreeing positively, and said, I hope so. Then she left, and I sat with Zayn, who discussed my marriage to Nadim childishly. I told him that Nadim would live with us in our house, starting from the wedding day. He was very happy about that, saying that there would finally be someone to play with him all day. He was still an innocent child who held no malice towards any of my descendants. The days passed in succession, during which I met Nadim once. He was somewhat changed, but when I asked him, he told me he was fine, explaining his change by saying that the defining moment was very close, which made his anxiety normal. So I agreed with him. On that day, as I was returned to my house, I went to the knife cellar. I bought a precious dagger without telling him, and when I returned, I hung that dagger inside a sheath next to my wedding dress, which Mrs. Samaria had prepared in the corner of my room, and I wished as I looked at them that a doctor had been present in the courtyard that day to treat the wound and pain resulting from the removal of Nadim's tattoo. But I know my beloved well. He has enough endurance that he does not need any doctor or medicine.
The darkest hour.